Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CW Live. My name is Chris Webb, and Head of Communications at the CW. I'm delighted tonight, once again, to be joined by our Deputy General Secretary, Postal, Terry Pullinger. Good evening, Terry.
All right, Chris. Evening, everyone.
Yeah, good to have you with us, buddy. So tonight, as you all know, has been well advertised, and I can already see by the hundreds of you piling on that there's an anticipation and all the comments that you know what it's about. It's about Royal Mail Group pay. It's also about, you've had various updates from Terry where we've set out exactly what's at stake, what's going on. Tonight's about you, though. We really do enjoy these sessions where basically Terry has no idea what's going to be asked of him tonight, and you come on and we hand the session over to all of you. So I'm just going to simply give Terry one opening question in a minute, and then basically the whole session will be yours. But in the meantime, you can really help us. I can already see a couple of thousand people online. That is a fantastic start for what we've been on less than a minute. But you can really help us by tagging your friends, sharing the posts with colleagues, and making sure we get as many people online as possible tonight to hear your questions and Terry's responses. So whilst you're doing that, and whilst you're letting us know where you're watching from, whilst you're getting your questions in, I'm going to simply ask Terry if there's any update on where we were last week when we last spoke. Tel, over to you, buddy.
Not really, Chris. I just wanted to say to everyone that we last week's session that we done, the last thing we put out, Chris, which was really lengthy and detailed. And I know people have to sit through that, but we felt it was really important to get as much of the information out there regarding this dispute on pay. And then tonight, give people the opportunity to just come in and ask their own questions, any questions they like. So, you know, the position hasn't changed. There's been an exchange. I'm meeting the business tomorrow, but the exchange has been setting up meetings for the next 4 weeks. But still on the basis that they want us, in fact, I think they want us to deal with the change issues more than the pay. That's not what we've gone into dispute over. That's not what we've enacted the 4 weeks of talks for. It's so that we can negotiate a pay deal for our members, a straight pay deal, inflation-based, no strings pay deal. So there's still a bit of a checkmate going on about when we meet or what it is we're going to talk about. So we'll just have to see how that unravels. But I said it the other night. That's not what we're going to do. We've told the members, we told the activists, we debated at a conference. Our members absolutely deserve and need a pay rise now, not after lengthy, elongated talks on major change issues that are subject to a totally different agreement. They turned this business around during the pandemic. Where is their reward? Where is their pay reward? Company claims to value its employees, our members. In my opinion, the company's greatest asset, and yet they've offered them absolutely nothing, unless they can force through very quickly change that in the context they're talking about it now is unacceptable to us, and it was just as unacceptable a few years ago when Rico Back was pushing it. So. That's not what the 4 weeks is about, guys. So if they come out and say the union ain't negotiating, it won't talk about those change issues, well, that's absolutely right. No, we won't. Not in this 4-week dispute resolution process, because that's the time set aside to deal with a national dispute over pay, and that's what we want to deal with.
Thank you, Terry. That's brilliant. And over 2,500 of you already checked in online. As I said at the start, please keep sharing. Please keep tagging your colleagues. Let's get as many people online as we possibly can. Terry, one of the things I've picked up early doors in the comments is from our Parcel Force colleagues. I know that you said in the session on back end of last week how dear to your heart they are. Dave's asking here, what are Royal Mail's groups for Parcel Force worldwide? Keep hearing about an announcement in September. And quite a few other members are saying, what are the strings attached to the offer on Parcel Force? Are we included in the offer, etc.? So maybe an overall position on the Parcel Force situation.
Yeah, well, first of all, yes, as far as we're concerned, absolutely. Parcel Force and Fleet are part of the Royal Mail Group. They're all the same employer, and our legal advice at the moment is that we will be taking this action as a group. If that changed, then we may have to have Fleet and Parcel Force ballots separately, if that's what it comes to. In respect of the offers that have been made to Fleet and Parcel Force, they're exactly the same structure. 2% if you agree quite radical change, another 1.5% when that change is deployed. The 2%, the same as the Royal Mail one, is backdated till April the 1st. The 1.5% isn't, so it no longer becomes. If that goes sometime, that would no longer be part of 3.5 for the full year. So it makes the offer even worse if that was an acceptable approach, but it isn't. I'm very conscious of the fact we just want to talk about a straight pay deal, but it's fair to say to Parcel Force, some of the issues, because we said this on last week, Chris, when we did our video, some of the issues in Parcel Force, when we hadn't had the offer then till later in the week, revolve around the same things about, attacking sick leave, new entrants, but they also want to talk about attacking the SA packages, which is most of them are attached to duty in Parcel Force in order to bring in more flexibility. I believe the fellow who's looking after Parcel Force now, Aaron Barnes, I think it is, he put out a video at the end of last week. But what he failed to mention when he was saying the things they want to do, he left off the stuff that they want to talk about, the owner drivers, obviously increasing owner drivers, etc. So, just as much, just as radical, just as much very, very difficult change that would take months and months of negotiation, which should be being dealt with in the Pathway to Change agreement, not this year's pay deal. And that's why, once again, so our position is exactly the same. Don't want to talk about all that in the context of our pay. We want a pay award now for our people, which is absolutely justified. Certainly in the light of them rewarding shareholders, of course, as I've said before, with no strings. So we want a straight pay deal. That other stuff, that they could well put that on the table under the Pathway to Change, and we would deal with that in negotiation. And if at some point we had to disagree over that, we would. But it should be nothing to do with this year's pay deal, and that's what we're saying.
Thank you, Terry. As you can imagine, hundreds and hundreds of questions and thousands of you online. So, both Terry and myself and the whole union appreciate your loyalty, and moreover, you giving up your evening to join us tonight. Peter Knox asks, as a few people have asked, Terry, are we being balloted during the mediation period?
No, I don't think it will be, because everybody knows how frustrating the anti-trade union laws are in this country. It's been used against us 3 times now, and anyone who was part of those national ballots knows how difficult that was. People are constantly telling us, whatever you do, don't get this wrong, etc., etc. But there are processes you have to go through in line with those anti-trade union laws, and that is we have to check the membership. Every branch has to check, so that stuff gets sent out from headquarters. Is already out there, I hope. Branches then have to check that with their membership and return it very quickly. It has to go through a validation process so that we are balloting the right people in the right workplaces, etc., etc. If we didn't, then of course, and that was on a serious scale, then they would use that to stop our ballot, or call it non and void, or take us to court on that basis. So you have to go through that process, which is really frustrating. So I think it's highly unlikely we will be balloting during the 4-week period, but all the preparation will be done, and we will be giving notice as soon as we're ready towards the back end of that 4-week period, and then the process, goes into place. But it's I don't think we should worry about that. And I don't think we should worry about this company at the end of the 4 weeks taking executive action, because if they took executive action and just gave you a pay rise, it would be totally at odds with what they're offering in negotiation. And the changes they want to force through just can't be done without the support of the trade union or its membership. And indeed, some of them are actually would be a breach of our legally binding agreement, and we would then injunct them. So we just have to do it as quick as we can. Obviously, when you're going into this, previously, people will remember we could go into weeks of external mediation, and we had to do it in line with our agreement. We did away with all that. So it's just this 4 weeks, and then either party are free then to take what action they intend to take. But all the preparatory work, all the work with our branches, getting the membership up to date, and as soon as we've got a timescale that we can put out there, a ballot timetable, we will do. but it's unlikely that you'll have ballot papers during the 4 weeks.
Thank you, Terry. Brilliant, buddy. And we've just hit the 5,000 mark. So that is really fantastic for 7 o'clock on a Monday evening. Shows how much anger I think there is out there about this issue, Terry. And we've got lots and lots of comments and questions. I'm going to put this one up from Jason for you, Terry, who says, I'm a single parent on full-time hours. I'm now able to claim universal credit as my wages are so low compared to inflation and all these 1% and 2% raises. We need a proper pay rise, 10%, no joke. But I mean, obviously, leave you to comment on that. But Jason is making a point which loads and loads of people in the comments are making, which is basically desperation about a need for a pay rise to come now to combat the cost of living. There's people in here saying they're struggling to put petrol in the tank to get to work. There's people saying that they're really, really struggling to pay the bills at the end of the week. Just, I know you've made this point before, Terry, on a consistent basis. What is your sort of ambition to get this deal done, the right deal done quickly? And obviously, what would you say to Royal Mail about the need to get that done in a speedy manner?
Well, I think we've said it, because I don't think we would have took, we wrote in February, Chris, because we saw the cost of living crisis was starting to bite already. So we foresaw this issue and wrote to them in the latter part of February, the business, knowing that our pay review was due the 1st of April. And they didn't come back to us for 2 months. So that despite us pressing for that. So that says a lot about your employer, about Royal Mail. It don't say a lot about your union. What it says about the union is we had the foresight to recognise something had to be done here, and we were extremely worried about our members. We also had the foresight to have a policy forum just 5 weeks ago, to talk about the future of the industry and how we move forward the Pathway to Change agreement. We did that. The company haven't been near us on that stuff. So, we're the ones that have been trying to be alive to the situation, trying to empathise with people, trying to make sure the business does the right thing. Unfortunately, they've done exactly the wrong thing. And someone has made a massive rick here in terms of those people who sit on the board, because they're the ones that have determined this remit. And that's why I keep attacking them. Faceless people, chinless wonders who all sit there agreeing with each other about how to get shareholders more money and not look after this great public service and not look after its greatest asset. The over 110 or 20,000 people, employees, that make this happen on a daily basis against all the odds. And I think it's horrific. This is how business seems to. I thought we'd moved on from that in Royal Mail Group. I really thought, and people may think, oh, you're over optimistic, they never change. And I see them comments that come through. Well, we have to travel in hope. We have to keep fighting when we have to fight, and we work with people when we have to work with them. We've been trying to be pragmatic. We raised the issue so that there was plenty of time for talks, and they chose not to pick that up. As for people, I can't talk percentages, Chris, and I can't say things, if someone says 10, someone says 20%, of course people want, we have to negotiate that on the basis of the best that we can possibly get. The saying, there's only so much liquid in the pot. But what there needs to be, and I've said it before, is the business, the board needed to understand these headwinds that are affecting everybody, seriously affecting everybody, their ability to get to work, their ability to pay heating bills, put food on the table, etc., show some empathy and come up with a package that put employees first, not shareholders first. So our plan is still there. We've got a medium and long-term plan. We've still got the Pathway to Change agreement, very progressive stuff. Unions put forward some really good ideas, lots of reasons to be optimistic that we can reinvent Royal Mail for the next generation, and it can still be the most valued public service it is today, and absolutely was during the pandemic. But they've run for the hills, haven't they? They straight away, they see the threat to shareholder return. Where they run scared of these people, shareholders or whatever, I don't know. But instead of fronting them up, defending the membership, defending this great public service, saying to them all the amazing things that's been achieved through the last 18 months and why there's absolute reason to be very positive about the future of Royal Mail. No, they shut the door and suddenly try to rush things through, change things through that ain't been negotiated on the back of trying to bribe people to get a 3.5% pay rise. How out of touch are these people? How out of touch are they in terms of the cost of living crisis and what's going on? So what we need is a package that both rewards our members, I keep saying it, and also gives them the best chance to maintain their standard of living through this cost of living crisis. That's what we want. And I think it is a really justifiable ask, a really fair ask for all these decent, hardworking people that have proper been through the mill the last 18 months. And this speaks volumes about an employer. This is how much they value you guys. So we're getting stuck in. That's why we're getting stuck in. And I believe you're going to support us. I think we're speaking your language. I think we truly are representing how you feel at the moment and how disgusted you are that the company's sort of turn its back on you at this worst time. And do you know what? Sorry, Chris. Do you know what? I think they're going to use it. I think they believe because there's a cost of living crisis, people can't afford to protest and go and strike. And what they're going to do, I think, is threaten people that you're putting your jobs at risk and you're just going to lose money. They're going to use it. They've seen this, even worse, they've seen this as an opportunity, not a moment when they needed to do the right thing by their employees.
Thanks, Harris. Brilliant. I'm glad you took that extra 30 seconds or so to answer that question. With someone just turned all the lights off in the department and I was in darkness. We've got hundreds of questions and thousands of you online, and we're only 15 minutes in, so we've got plenty of time to get to as many as we can. Veronica here, Terry, says, please answer the following question. What is the difference between Simon Thompson and Rico? Because I don't see any. And there's lots of questions, not quite as pointed as that, but saying these plans seem to be dusted off from the Rico back era. Here we go again. We thought we were going to get growth. We thought we were going to get innovation, and all we're getting is the same old rubbish, later start times, same old plans, scrap allowances, etc. What would your view on sort of where the company are at this point in this juncture be?
Listen, you could go back to Crozier, Moya Green, Rico back, blah, blah, blah. When they go like this, there's no difference between any of them. Personality-wise, I would say definitely more access. So with the CEO, for me personally, speak to him, all the time. Simon Thompson, all of the time. You get to talk about other things, the human things, and I genuinely thought there was a better connection there than some of the others. But listen, when push comes to shove, we all serve someone. It's the board that seemed to have made this decision. With Rico back, it was different. He seemed to, he was the governor, and what I said goes. It's my way or the highway, and that became evident fairly early, and that became a conflict. Didn't really feel that the union should have a voice. I remember when Crozier was here, and they said that everything's changed, and we're going to just plough past the trade union. They've all tried it. They've all tried it with us, and what you have to give relationships a chance. You have to try, because we have to negotiate. Other people, other workers. So our people are struggling. Well, listen, if there's any substance in what they're saying, people are paid 40% less than our people. God knows how they're trying to tackle this cost of living crisis. Probably got about 3 or 4 jobs. Every worker without a union representing it, it's not rocket science. Any research will tell you the best terms and conditions are in jobs that are unionised. So, we have to negotiate. And to negotiate, sometimes you have to sit with the devil, but you have to form relationships. And, when they try it on, those relationships are honest relationships. So when there's a row like now, there's a row. Unfortunately, we don't agree. We disagree with what they're doing. So it would seem, and you never stop learning in this game, it would seem quite clearly when push comes to shove, there's no difference between any of them.
Thank you, Terry. Moving on to another consistent point raised. Stephen puts it well. Can we get all the NEC and PC members out to offices to talk to the members? Their professionalism goes a long way to the front line. So, we've hit that point, Terry. You sent the rallying call out at the back end of last week. Do you expect now meetings to take place in every workplaces, branches to get those plans together? And of course, I'm assuming all of the union's leadership will want to get out there and back the cause and get the messages out there for people.
Yeah, there'll be a number of things we'll be lining up, briefings. People need to know in order to make their judgment, don't they, as well? But during the pandemic, we set up a really successful network of executive members being aligned to each of the divisions and regions, speaking with the divisional reps, regional organisers, speaking to all the senior field officials, speaking to all the branch secretaries, and getting feedback that went right down, should go right down to the unit, the shop floor, right back up again. So we're informed about what's going on and everyone else is informed. This two-way street. But also that, this it's always been my belief that for all we do, Chris, brilliant stuff on the comms, all this stuff, which does enable us to get to a lot of people in this way that we wouldn't be able to do ordinarily. I agree. There's still nothing more powerful than getting in front of people and having a conversation with them, having a meeting with our members and just saying why we are where we are and what we're doing and why we need to stand together. Because if you don't, and this is one of these moments, and this is the thing, we haven't called this on. This is a moment of their making. But when you get these moments, you cannot back off. You can't afford to. Because if you back off once, then it starts. And it's next time, and it's next time, and it's next time. So people need to understand that, need to feel that. We'll get as many people out. Branches should be doing it already. But wherever we can, and I will, if I'm not in talks, I said this last week, if we're not in talks because they're refusing to talk just about pay, then, we'll be getting out there. But during this, if it goes the wrong way, if we can't get a deal, between this time and ballot papers arriving, we'll do plenty of this stuff, Chris, as you know. We'll be getting as much help out there to people in the form of messages, but we will also get on the road and we'll get out and especially speak to our unit reps, but get in offices wherever we can. I've never had a problem doing that. People know that. So that's what we'll be doing.
Spot on, Terry. As we were saying before we went live tonight, there's only one workplace that's going to matter in this ballot, and it's not the one where managers are posting messages. It's the one where you all are every single day of the week. Jason Harvey makes a good point. He says, and this is a point you touched on, the point, Terry, earlier on about some messages of fear going out to our members as we try and build support. And Jason says, if Royal Mail and CW don't agree a deal, could Royal Mail do a P&O on us? That's from Jason at Marlborough DO. So, yeah, I mean, is that a possibility, or in your view, Terry?
Well, first of all, we've always made sure we've got as much protections in place as possible. So that's why we've got our dispute resolution process, which means you have to go through that process, whether it's a local issue right up to us at national level. But we've also got our legally binding agreement. So on things like breaking up the business or bringing in new entrants on less money, etc., we've got legally binding commitments. So if they breach them or the terms of our legally binding agreement, then obviously we would look to injunct them. This is the bit that's different from other unions, would not be in that position to injunct them with P&O. But listen, despite all that, they know that we will stand up ourselves. They know. So that'd be a massive call on them to try and do that. I mean, the people in P&O, they didn't even know it was coming, did they? It just happened on the one day. So, what could those people do? I don't think they can do that to us. Can they start attacking us, our terms and conditions? Can they do? Yeah, of course they can. And I think they'll try and, really put some fear up people about that. But in my mind, you just cannot afford not to fight, can you? Because if you back off, then you end up looking like one of those companies where they claim people are paid 40% less. That's why they want to bring in new entrants on less money. That's why they want to bring in more owner drivers, bogus self-employed. It's all just to make more money for shareholders. It ain't because it's the right thing to do, and it ain't because you're not decent people. But part of being a decent person in my book is about pride and dignity. We've made agreements with these people. We've worked with these people. You have been absolutely amazing. And then someone turns around, I don't think there's another industry out there that's as much like a family as Royal Mail. And when you see some of the stuff during the pandemic, Chris, when people lost colleagues and you see all them Royal Mail vans queued up going to the funerals of these people, saying goodbye to family. We're family, and they're attacking us. They're attacking your family. What do if someone attacks your family? You stand up. You cannot afford to just be told, to go and hide away and it'll all go, just duck down, get under the table and it'll all go away. No, you can't do that. You've got to stand up. What's going on here is fundamentally wrong. And it is them sitting on the board, making their decisions and judgments with no empathy of real life right throughout Royal Mail. All they know is suck up the shareholders. That's all they know. And they're prepared to do anything to you, destroy your life even in terms of terms and conditions, your standard of living, the way you work, the hours that you work. They'll do all of that if it means they can satisfy this thirst of big shareholders who just want to stuff their pockets with gold. We've held them off for 10 years. It's happened in every other privatisation, but we've held them off. They're coming again. So we dig in. We dig in and we continue to dig in. You can't afford not to. Absolutely no one can.
Thank you, Terry. Brilliant, buddy. So we're nearly halfway through. And as always, we don't dodge any questions. So we'll take all the difficult ones. Christian, Kerry, who I'm assuming Terry is one of our local reps, is saying, how do I convince my members to possibly strike with the cost of living crisis? And again, goes back to that point you were going through about fear and that, can you afford not to, etc. But, you've consistently made this point on the sessions we've had is that, that this crisis is really hitting our members. What would your message to those people in that position be?
Well, my message really, what do you want to do? Do you want to take their offer? Do you really think 2% is going to help you at this moment in time? If you're saying you're that skint, is 2% really going to hurt you? I'd say, travelling hope, but in the meantime, earn as much money as you can. That's what I would say. But I don't know what else to say, Chris, to someone like that, because I've just said it. Yes, you may have to make some sacrifice. You may have to fight back, but you've got to believe that you can win. If not, then we might as well accept their offer then. And all of you go on later duties, all the delivery people, we're going to push everything later. Everyone's going to be working 7 days. You're going to be in annualised hours. There are going to be new entrants coming in just below you on even less money than you're saying you can't live on now. And that makes us good people, does it? Us accepting that. Of course it don't. We're here. The terms and conditions we've got now and we've enjoyed, whatever you think about them, is because we stood on the shoulders of giants, because we, people like us, people like me, people in a trade union, stood and fought for them terms and conditions that you're enjoying now. And it weren't easy, and it's never been easy, and they all come under attack, and it's under attack again now. What you don't do is just back off. What you don't do is go, all right, then, do what you like to me. I'm all right. That's not going to save you, nor is a poxy 2% going to help you during this cost of living crisis. So, again, you'll make your mind up, won't you, when you get a ballot paper, every single one of you. What you ain't to be able to say, though, is that my trade union leaders sold me down the river. That I belong to a trade union who weren't prepared to have the fight. Too many unions, they say, oh, well, we just got to accept this. We hear this all the time in the trade union movement. You can't say it with this trade union. We stand up, we stand together, all of us as one, and we try and make a difference. And that's what we've got to do again now.
Terry, I think that's fantastic, and you've seen a lot of support for that. And Wayne, who I know you've spoken to in the past, says from Gray's Deal, can you ask Terry his thoughts on that? Linked to the last question, really, but he's coming from a more positive viewpoint. He supports the strike, and he's made that in several comments. But he's saying, do you think the business are going to use the cost of living crisis and thinking that people can't afford to strike to be a bit harder in the negotiations?
Yeah, evening, Wayne. He's messaged me today about coming down to Gray's again now that COVID seems to be under a bit of control. So we'll have to get that sorted out, Wayne. I'll come down and see you. Listen, it's not a glib answer, but I don't think people can afford not to go on strike if they're being offered nothing. It's a question of you looking at yourself in the mirror and say, I deserve to be treated better, and I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm not, because, to me, this is like a form of business bullying, isn't it? You can have something, but you've got to jump through all these hoops to get it. So don't matter all that you did the last 18 months, you got to do more. And then it's more again. And then it's more again. And, you just can't, we can't do business that way as a trade union. I can't, listen, everyone may not like every deal, but we do our absolute best. And I've got to be able to look in the mirror. And it's unacceptable what you're being offered. It's unacceptable the way they're trying to do business and trying to push change, which is proper to another agreement and a different conversation, trying to push change through that will be extremely damaging. And when they're talking about, because they probably will, they'll probably come out and go, one, you can't afford to lose money. And no one ever can, by the way. But we've had 3 national ballots, don't forget, record-breaking national ballots. We got agreements and no one had to take half hours industrial action. That would be fantastic. That's what we'd love. That's what we'd want. But the day may well come when we got to have a go. You got to go out and strike. And our history is peppered with that. The ironic thing about what they're going to say to you, which is you can't afford it. And by the way, you could end up, the business, you could be lots of job losses. There's loads of job losses associated with the crap they're trying to push through on a 2%, maybe 1.5%, and with another 1.5% at some point this year, pay rise. They're trying to push it through. So, don't listen to all of that. Everyone underestimates, I think, the intelligence of ordinary working people. I've said it before, stuff from Clay, don't you? This is wrong. This is wrong. And if something's wrong, what do? You stand up. I have people say, we're going to leave this job, blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't. I think it's worth defending. I think it's a great institution, a magnificent public service, and it's gave people a lot of employment. We've got an aging workforce. People have worked here all their lives. It offers job security and things like that. But we've never, despite that, we've never been afraid to stand up and fight for what we believe is right. What is happening to you is wrong. If you don't think it is, then you'll vote with the employer in effect, won't you? But I just don't see how anyone can think this is right. All that you did, and don't forget last year, yes, in the revisions, people got the hour of the working week, but you only got 1%. So this year's pay award should have been a celebration, really. Everything you've done, you turned the finances of the company around during that year, sufficient enough for them to very quickly give £400 million to shareholders, when really, with the writing was on the wall where things were going, then they should have held off, shouldn't they, to the end of the financial year and made sure our people were looked after. They haven't done that. That's grossly bad management. The board made a terrible decision, and now suddenly they're trying to make everyone pay for it. All of our members pay for it. You, the workers, pay for it. Now you either swallow that or you don't. Our advice from your trade union, who you pay to represent you, is to stand up and fight, because you deserve so much better.
Thanks, Terry. And that's been really well received in the comments. So thank you to everyone backing the point Terry has been making emphatically there. On the £400 million payout, Terry, loads of stuff on that as well. Andrew Bradley here says, when are they going to be able to account for wasting £400 million on a payout to shareholders? Within the same breath, they then complain don't have any money to pay staff, but also haven't invested in the company to improve processes to drive efficiency. Instead, they just tax staff, pay them less, do the same hours and work as before. They earn a net at their jobs and not us as ours. So there's a lot of stuff around the £400 million, Terry. And I was watching a Raw Mail video last week where the new financial officer was basically trying to explain to staff, well, the £400 million we gave them couldn't really have given to you as pay, but what would your view be on that? And, what a snub that is to our members, really, to just a few months back hand out £400 million, be saying that the company's been turned around, record profits, everyone's fantastic, and then come to the table and say to you as our lead negotiator, in effect, minus the change, there's nothing for you on pay.
Well, I think what they'll say is that because it's a private company, and we've been privatised for 10 years now, so, this is we've always stood up against the real damage that privatisation does to such great utilities, and has done to many others. We've always stood up to that, but they would say their rules as a private company say if they make X amount of profit, then they've got to give X amount to shareholders. But this is my point. What the board should have been saying is that's wrong. On this occasion, that's wrong. So, for instance, I think the year before last, they didn't give a dividend. They told the people, we had to go into this reinventing Royal Mail, etc., etc. And as it happens, COVID come along and they got test kits and we got loads more parcels and, you know, and the company financially had a financial recovery. But it was off the back of our people that did it. Our people had all the work to do it in incredibly difficult circumstances, which was said about before. People are sick, isolating, social distancing at work, one person in a van, etc., etc. Huge adjustments, huge, massive effort to get things delivered and keep the country connected. So this year, that surely the board should have said to shareholders, now you're going to have to hold on. You're going to have to hold on because we got all of these headwinds. We got to keep the momentum of our change program under the pathway to change. These people absolutely deserve to be rewarded for what they've done, and they're going to have to come first. And if you're here for the long term, if you're a long-term investor and you're interested in the medium and long term, and are we still going in the right direction? Yes, we are, but you're going to have to show some restraint here. You're going to have to be patient because we need to reward these people. They deserve it, and they're part of the change program going forward, etc. And they've got to know that this is in their interests and the great public service interest, and not just in the interest of shareholders who want to, you know, stuff their pockets with gold. That's what they should have said. But Chris, they haven't done that. So they carried on, clearly not working out, or not, you know, not having the minerals to stand up to shareholders, but not having the brains to think, well, this is going to look terrible, isn't it? We're weighing out £400 million, and we publicly say that because the business has done so well. Come pay talks, suddenly, what are they going to say? I don't know. They're going to the market on the 19th. What are they going to say? We're potless. We ain't got no money now. We had it then, and we weighed all the money out in January, £400 million. But now we got nothing. We cleared ourselves out, so there's nothing for all them hardworking employees. The only way we can give them something is if we impose major change on them, because we don't want to negotiate it. We want to force it through on pay. Because if we're going to negotiate, it'll go months and months and months, and you've done nothing to help people. So I tell you now, these empty words about we know you want a pay rise and we know you need a pay rise and we really want to give it to you now. Bullshit. No, they don't, because they know the stuff that they're talking about. If we did it their way, which we're not, because it isn't right and it's proper to a pathway to change agreement, those things would take months. So they have no intention of giving you a pay rise. Nothing for all that you've done. And if you don't think that's worth standing up for, well, I'm saying that because there'll only be a few coming in. Our members, absolutely. We get out there. I get out there. I know our people. I've walked in them shoes. I was a postman. We would never have put up with that when I was there. And we would have, I'll tell you now, we would have steamed into our union if it was saying it was going to put up with that. Never would we put up with that. And we're not putting up with it now.
Thank you, Terry. Brilliant. Malcolm, who has asked his question about 50 times. I can see you, Malcolm, mate, and it's just a question of making sure we get as many people in as possible. But Malcolm asked me why I'm keep picking at the same kind of question. Now, you've been on the list for a while, and not the ones about why managers get paid to go on strike and we don't. Terry, Malcolm has been posted on the page saying that he's heard that managers are going to get 75 quid a day strike pay from their union when they go on a strike. I would imagine that's quite a big win, to be honest with you. But the CW members don't. Why is that? And are you going to do something about
that? No, one, I don't really care what the managers do. But what I do know is they belong to Unite. And Unite is a massive, massive organisation with massive financial clout. The CW ain't. The CW is an industrial fighting union. So we've got something like 120,000 members. There's no possible way we could give anything of any significance to 120,000 striking members. I also believe every time I went on strike, and I knew I was losing money. You had to lose money. But that, it's part of how strongly you feel about it. It's why they try and use it as a tactic to stop you going on strike. You can't afford to lose a day's money. Well, of course not. But you have to find a way to fight. But unions that have started doing that, and Unite have got that policy, And then a lot of those strikes go on a lot longer because people dig in because they're getting paid to go on strike. But if they're paying all their managers 75 quid a day, then perhaps that's the price they have to pay to try and get a yes vote. I don't know, but it's not how we roll. It's impossible for our union to be able to afford to do that. I've no idea how much Unite subscriptions are or anything like that. But what I do know, and everyone knows, they're probably the biggest union in this country. So obviously they've got the finances to do that. We ain't, and that's not what we do. That's not how it's done. So we feel strongly enough to go on strike. Part of what really drives that home in people's minds, external people's minds, opinion formers, is people know you can ill afford to go on strike, but you're prepared to do it because you know you can't afford not to.
Thank you, Terry. That's brilliant. Another strike-related question before we move into the final sort of section of questions is, would you, as an executive, be considering work to rule as an option? Lots of our members saying they feel that would really hit Royal Mail at this point in time because of the levels of overtime that are being conducted and people giving free time.
Well, you want my honest opinion? I think a lot of time as well you hear that because one, I don't know how you would manage that in terms of knowing whether people were doing that. But I just think it allows the company more time to drive through the issues they want to do, and it could be them recruiting more people. If you're not working, they bring in agencies, they bring in everything else, and then you'd have to suffer the indignity of going into work and potentially all these other people coming in because you're not doing the overtime, being all over your workplace, and that can make life extremely frustrating and aggravating. And I don't think it's as strong. I don't think it's anywhere near as strong. You either feel strongly about this or you don't. And I don't think we can appear in any way, shape or form to be lily-livered and frightened of these people. And neither do I think we should hand them any advantage. And I genuinely believe if you do work for Rule, you'd be flooded with other people coming into, they would pay anything to get that work covered by other people, as opposed to the difficulties they have when we take industrial action. Now, we would think about that. Of course we would. If we get into that, it could be a long dispute. So we have to think about the impact in terms of the days we would choose and stuff like that. Of course, we think about our members. We know there's a hardship involved in it, but no, it's got to be strike, guys, because this is the most serious threat we've had for since the last one. And we were digging in on the last one, and we're digging in on this one. And they need to know we're deadly serious, and we mean it, and that we got the support of all our members. We stand as one.
Thank you, Terry. Brilliant. And another comment that's been really well responded to by our members. So we're into the last 16 minutes of the session, going really well. Loads of your questions been asked, loads of positive comments from you as a membership. Again, just to repeat, share the link, tag your colleagues, get the message out there. And of course, you can watch the whole session on catch up. The other thing we always do in these sessions is we remind you that we are sure we've got some friends from Royal Mail tuning in to find out what's going on. Again, you can let them know where you stand in the comment box, because it's a very, very highly viewed session. Over 10,000 people have now tuned into tonight's session. We're really, really proud of that. So thank you so much to everyone that supported us. So if you're back in the union, simply slip in the comments now, "Hi workplace, I'm with my union." And then we'll get as many of them up as we possibly can. And while we do that, I'm going to ask Terry. Terry, we've covered obviously a lot of Royal Mail ground there. Parcel Force at the start. We've got quite a few questions from our fleet and engineering members saying where is the offer for them on pay and what is the status of that?
Right. So Cole Maiden, I think, had a meeting the end of last week on fleet, and we're in exactly the same position, guys. It's the same structure. It's the same pay offer. It's the same. You can only have it if there's change. There's no upfront pay offer, and if you accept change, then it's the same. It's the same amount of money as they're saying right across the group. So it's a group-wide policy from Royal Mail. It's a group-wide dispute as far as we're concerned. And our position is, to be honest, I don't really want to concentrate on a change. We're saying it's a pay rise, straight pay rise, no strings, inflation-based pay rise that, one, demonstrates the company values you and rewards you for what you did for the last 18 months, but two, gives the best possible package to enable you to protect yourself from this cost of living crisis. Other than that, we ain't interested. That's what our dispute's about. The other stuff, all the change stuff, is all proper at the pathway of change agreement, and we're not in disagreement about that. That's where it's got to be dealt with. We're not having them bribe us through with these changes. So your fleet, engineering, whatever you, although engineers are all part of Royal Mail, they got that wrong in the first place. But Royal Mail Group people, all of you, we're all in the same boat, and we're taking on the same row for all of you.
Thanks, Terry. Another question that's coming through quite a bit is people asking what the nature of the negotiations so far have been like, and if you feel that Royal Mail have been genuine in them, or if you feel that obviously their motive has been otherwise.
No, I think they've made a major mistake, and I don't think an original remit would have looked like the one they're putting to us now. So that's why that this remit that the negotiators have got set by the board, it's a remit that's been made by people that are out of touch, that don't realise what the reaction is to that and how much risk they're putting on a very positive programme that we had mapped out going forward. Now, COVID hit us right at the start and caused all sorts of problems, and it's a massive achievement that everyone did what they did in the last 18 months, which should bode well. Companies should see that as a magnificent response from people, and people that, had to cope with all that but still did. That should have been a real positive for the business. What they've done, they want to rush through some change because they want to try and get some more money out. They want to get more profit because someone would say, well, a business this size should be making X amount of profit. So they follow these rules. There's nothing in it. There's no new thinking. It's really old-fashioned thinking. And the way to achieve that is give it to the workforce. So they've sat in their boardroom, all John Wayne, and they brave as anything. Tell them they can't have nothing unless they deliver all these changes. That's it. That's the thanks you get from a board who didn't lift a finger during the pandemic. All the work was done by you, our members, but that's been their decision. So that the talks never took place for about 2 months after we'd written to them, because they were arguing with themselves, or the CEO and the leaders in the industry were arguing with the board. And the board have said, no, this is what they're getting, and they can only have it as it's changed. They'll do as they're told. Well, let's see, shall we? Let's see how well that goes. And let's see how damaging their policy that they set, that now they've got to change if we're going to make any progress. Let's see how that pans out. But Chris, I want to say it's on them. It's not on our people. Our members, their employees have been fantastic. This whole situation, this needless aggression and anger that we're in now. And this ain't just me. I think I'm a reflection of how everyone feels let down by this employer. This is all because of the board. It's all on them. And we'll start exposing them and all. Let's have a look at some of them. We must be able to Google them. We'll start doing some research on these people, see how many other boards they sit on, where they're wreaking havoc on ordinary working people and sitting there patting themselves on the back saying what a marvellous job they're doing, filling shareholders' pockets. Good luck to you.
Spot on, Terry. I noticed at a quick glance earlier in the week that one of our board members also sits on the board of Serco, one of the companies involved in some of the dodgy government contracts. But there you go. What you said earlier on, Terry, and I think some people might have missed it because you said it in answering another question around, it wouldn't be the best negotiation if you were to come out and say, well, what the union is asking for is X% when we go into negotiations. But a lot of people are commenting saying, could you let us know where you're coming from and what your demands on pay are as DGSP and as an executive?
I've already said it. I'm not putting a figure on it, Chris. I've already said it. Everyone knows where inflation is. There's two measures of inflation. There's CPI and RPI. People don't use RPI anymore. Businesses and things like that, they use CPI. but there's two measures. We tend to favour RPI. But what I'm saying is, we've got to negotiate the best we possibly can for our members. And in my opinion, that's nowhere near 3.5%. So whatever they think they're doing there, that's not enough. We've got to negotiate the best we can. And then we've got to see within that is a package so they get a reward for what they've done, but you've also got the best opportunity, to cope with the cost of living prices. So in the mix in there is like overtime rates, all sorts of stuff that need improving in Royal Mail that have gone way backwards and stop people's ability to be able to cope in this sort of situation. So that's what it needs to be. It needs a package. I will say that 3.5 ain't nowhere near enough. So I will say that to you. But we need to get into the negotiations on a straight pay deal and see what we can achieve. And wherever we get to, that's when if we think that's the best that can be achieved by us, then we ultimately put it to the executive, and then we put it to the members, and the members could still say no and send us back. So, that's how the game's played, isn't it? But I'm not putting a figure on it that then just gives people the opportunity to start bashing up their union or anywhere else. We are genuinely trying to represent your best interests and protect you. And if you can't see that, then I'm sorry. But we always have done. We always have done. We've done it for years. We couldn't be more open and more transparent with you. It's us that have led this. You haven't had to tell us to do this. No activist in the field has had to tell us to do this. This has been led by your leaders. And as I say, we're trying to defend you, get your just rewards, and protect you for the future. And we will continue to do that.
Thank you. Brilliant. Lee Spicer, we're quite a spicy question, is saying, why don't you get Simon Thompson involved in these web chats? And is that something as the campaign? I mean, we might say, Terry, they got their own channels. They can run off and do what they want to do. We'll do what we want to do, and we'll see you at the end. But is something you consider? Would you be open to the leadership of Royal Mail coming on here with you in front of the members and having the debate?
Yeah, no, I'm never bothered about things like that. And people have seen us do that sort of stuff. I mean, we're not just here to entertain, are we? It's we are where we are, and he has plenty to say for himself. He's a big boy. He can go out and say whatever he likes, can't he? And have a Q&A and everything like that. And he does. But it depends on the value on it. I mean, my focus at the minute, Chris, our focus at the minute is making sure our member knows what the score is, know what's at risk, know why it's the right reason to fight, listen to their trade union. They can listen separately to the employer, and they can make up their own minds. So, listen, I don't mind a bit of sport. What I'm waiting for, it'd be interesting to see what the CEO says to the market on the 19th of May, and from that we will really know, where the lines are drawn. So at the minute, Chris, with what we've done last week, our focus is trying to get as much information to the members about why we're taking the decision that we're taking. This is not taken lightly. We don't put our people in that position. We would certainly don't want to put you in a position where you'd lose money, because there's no sense in doing it. And if we had to come and tell you that and there was some other offer on the table, I'm sure we'd get slagged off for that. But if we genuinely believed it was in your best interest, we would come out and try and sell the deal, same as we always do. We're miles away from that position. This is not good enough for you. You deserve far better, and this is your union standing up for you. And my advice, if you want us to be successful, you get weighed in behind us. That's what you do. You don't question every little sentence or every little thing that's been said. You just say, they're my people, they're doing it for me, and I'm behind them. No matter what management say. What's said on this workplace or whatever it's called thing. As you say, Chris, there's only one workplace, and that's the one our members are in under the roof, working hard every day and not getting rewarded for it. But, don't worry about all that. You're bound to get the to and fro of communications. But I'll tell you where we are, Chris. We're back to 2018, and it's time to pick sides again. And I tell you now, don't matter whatever goes on with this, communication stuff, it is time to pick sides, and you'll either pick your union or you'll forever accept less. Trust me.
Thank you, Terry. Brilliant. Just a couple more questions then. One is, you just touched on it in the answer you've given there, and a lot of members are asking about the 19th of May. where Royal Mail are going to give, obviously, a statement to the markets. I mean, you've seen, you alluded to it earlier on, Terry, with the list of former CEOs and leaders of the company. We've seen the boom and bust attitude. We've seen we're making record profits one day. We're dying as a company the next day, and all that sort of attitude. What are you anticipating? Are they going to go there and go, we're making big profits, but we're still not paying you? Or are they going to go there and all of a sudden be in the poo and not be struggling as a company? What are you anticipating for the 19th of May and any reaction the union may give to that day?
Well, they're going to want to try and show themselves in the best possible light. So I would imagine that there'll be lots of talk about how well we've done. But why there's now, a huge need for us to do very quickly, do very, very radical things. So yes, it's been great, but look at them big black clouds, and we've got to do this, we've got to do that, which is a bit of a similar story in a way, isn't it? They're a bit stuck, aren't they? One, I don't think they expected all of this before the 19th of May, so they didn't expect your trade union to call it on the way we have in advance of the 19th of May. So their narrative is going to have to take that into account, because everyone and their dog will know what's going on, I presume. And maybe, whether we can press any more buttons on national media, Chris, I don't know. So that shareholders will absolutely be aware that, they watch this stuff, they watch these videos and all that. So they know that it's all kicking off. And I suspect if they're doing questions on that market day, and I don't even know if they're doing it by Zoom or how they're doing it, but if they're taking questions on the audience, so this isn't the AGM, this isn't the shareholder AGM, this is like when they go to the market. So the analysts and all that sort of stuff. So if they're taking questions on that day, this will be top of the list, won't it? So we only have to do something like this normally, or I put a negative video out and the share price drops. So the analysts are going to be all over them. And it will be interesting to see what they say, because the nation knows how brilliant, our people done through the pandemic. The nation knows how brilliant all key workers were. And so if they now want to come and attack us, they won't be on the side of the public. I think will be on the side of us, because we're trying to defend something that proved to still be relevant. 500 years old business, still relevant. Great idea, fantastic, social invention where we keep everybody connected, every house in the country. And during the pandemic, 2 years or whatever, that pandemic, how brilliant it proved that was still there. And it was only still there because of us, the trade union, standing up, which comes back to my point about get behind your trade union. So I really don't know what they're going to say, Chris. All I know now is they're not going to be eyed away from this issue, because it's out there, because we've put it out there. And let's see, because if they go to that meeting and effectively say everyone's been awful, no one's put a shift in, people ain't productive enough, they're effectively lazy and overpaid, etc. If they go down that line, then they'll make themselves liars with everything they've put out on all their social media about how brilliant people are doing, how well the business has done, etc., etc. So they've given themselves a huge dilemma in terms of their narrative, and let's see how they try to wiggle out of it. But we'll be all over it, won't we? As soon as we hear it, we'll be all over it.
Spot on, Terry. So just a couple more questions for you, and whilst Terry thinks about answering them, you want to keep you busy as well. So we're a little bit out from the ballot papers landing on your doorstep, but we want to get you exercise, want to get you ready for it. So again, in the comments, if you're going to back a union and you're preparing to vote yes in the industrial action ballot, if we have to go there, then just simply put, I'm voting yes in the comments right now. And we'll put as many of them on screen as we possibly can. I couldn't keep up with the other ones. You were going too quickly for me. Terry, I wondered if, obviously, we're going to develop a communications plan. You and I have been talking about that. I know you'll have loads of things we're going to do over the next couple of months. But what would your message to branches be tonight and the need to start the process? And we've already seen that straight out of the boat from conference, branches engaging members in the workplace gate meetings. There's been some fantastic images already. But the need to start, as you said, and you're absolutely right, social media is great and these sessions are great, but nothing will beat getting in front of our members? How important is that our branches really knuckle down and get those meetings in place right now?
Well, massive. Just don't waste a minute. I mean, we know we got, there will be people in the branch going on leave. Widen the net. Don't just leave it to a couple of people to do all the work. Widen the net, communicate with your unit reps. Unit reps are really key, you know what I mean? So get there, get the information there, gate meetings. At some point, I'm sure we'll do a big national event on that as well, Chris, again. But massively important. We just can't, this is too important for people to switch off. Now is the moment to show massive support for the trade union. The board of Royal Mail Group need to hear it now, as well as in a ballot, for whole of this period going forward. They've got to know that they've lost the dressing room. They've absolutely got to know that. And surely they have lost the dressing room, because the way they're treating our members is absolutely appalling here. So, you should be pushing at an open door. Branches, don't waste a second. You should already be doing it now. And we will be chasing you down, unfortunately. We will be up in the ante. We've got to put the pressure on, because the work has got to be done here. And they need to see how active we are, and they need to see the massive support of the members for the trade union. So I would say to unit reps, I would say all our members, make sure your managers know. Tell them it's absolutely appalling, and we ain't having it. The national union is not having it. And don't forget, a lot of that audience you'll be speaking to managerially, they're balloting and all. They're balloting and all because of their jobs being cut and everything else. Allegedly, anyway. We'll have to see about that. But make sure they know their managers, because they'll be reporting back. And everyone's watching this. Listen, shareholders, board members, the CEO, all the senior leads in Royal Mail, they're all watching this stuff. They all watch it. So, they need to know. I'm saying to you, don't just sit back. Don't wait for your trade union. This needs to be a massive collective show of strength. Massive. Not just when we get ballot papers, now in the lead up. So let's do the work. If you believe that what we're doing is right, if you think we're on the side of the angels, if you think our members deserve a no strings, inflation-based pay award, then get behind your trade union now and make sure they know you are behind your trade union, because the trade union leadership is absolutely leading this and taking it all the way. I tell you, you deserve better, and until you pull us off, we'll be telling them we're fighting all the way for what you deserve.
Thank you, Terry. That's brilliant. I think we might have already crossed the ballot threshold with the amount of people who have committed to vote yes already on this session. So well done, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic. Terry, just going to give you the chance now, really, to, you've seen the members on tonight. I know you're busy, you're speaking, but hopefully you can see some of the messages flashing on your screen as you're addressing the members of how just supportive of the union that people have been tonight. And we know how loyal our membership is, and we're going to embark on a big communications and campaign exercise in the coming months. But closing the session tonight, Terry, what would your final message to our brilliant members be?
Well, my message would be this: a massive sorry, really, that you're being treated this way. Not that I should apologise for the business, but I genuinely feel really, really sorry for you after all the trauma and the efforts and the aggravation of dealing with a pandemic, and also deploying lots of change on an agreement that we made and that we still believe in, by the way, going forward. We knew it would be bumpy trying to deploy that agreement, and we knew there'd be a lot of learning from it, and we have had that, and we're trying to factor that in to how we go forward in the future. We're deadly serious about reinventing Royal Mail for the next generation. The magnificent public service. I want my grandchildren to see it when they're my age, still see a postal worker connecting, going to every house, keeping everybody connected. It's proved that it's relevance and that it's still worthwhile. And that's you. That's what you do. I'm still extremely proud to say I was a postman, and I am incredibly angry and disappointed to see, what they're trying to suggest we need to do next to save this industry. Because I know in my heart it's not about a great public service. It's not about rewarding decent workers. Once again, we're back to the quickest route to make some faceless people a load of money and make them even richer than they already are. And I think that's you know, it's a problem with society. But I really thought we've dealt with that with our agreement, and we're back here again. So listen, but that makes us stronger. You know, it makes us stronger in representing you. And I'd say to you this, and I'm deadly serious. You deserve so much better. You don't deserve what's happening here. You get behind your trade union. It is time to pick sides again, and you'll either pick us, or seriously, you will always accept less. You cannot show, no one can show weakness now. If anything, we need to show we're stronger than ever, because otherwise they will push on with some of this stuff they want to shovel on top of you, and it's not on. They're out of order, bang out of order. This should have been handled much better, and I genuinely believe this is a consequence of the intervention of people sitting on the board. And all the managers, they're all culpable, CEO and all, because they should be able to beat them off, or they should argue on your behalf, but they ain't. But the fact that the board have involved themselves in what is the remit for pay suggests to me they have shown just how much they think of you, just how much they think of this public service, and the fact that they value far more profit and shareholders. And we have to stand up against that. You deserve what you deserve, and this trade union will fight for you. You get behind it. No, you pick sides. You want us to give it everything. You want us to get in there and give it to them in negotiations. Then we need to know we got that army behind us, that great army that stood up before. We've got to do it again. Anyone new to this game, you see, you talk to the other people. We don't get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate, but only if we negotiate from a position of strength. Pick sides, pick the union, or forever accept less. Thank you.
Fantastic, Terry. Absolutely inspiring, and the comments reflecting that. So firstly, thank you to you, Terry, for giving up more of your time to be with us and to be with the members. We really do appreciate it, mate. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other, and you'll be seeing a lot of the members in the coming months as we deliver that massive yes vote that you talked about. More than thanking Terry, though, is to thank all of our brilliant reps and members who have tuned in tonight and who are always loyal to the union. So thank you to everyone that's come on tonight. Please take what Terry said back into the workplace tomorrow, back into your colleagues, and have those debates, because when the ballot papers come out, we must return a huge vote. We must return a huge yes vote. Loads more comms going your way, everybody. Take it easy, and thanks for your support. Night, everyone.